parang what she calls interrogative trespasses need to be done between the two theories. Because we really, that is the way by which we are able to theoretically and hopefully, because once the theory is there, we are able to make great convergences between the feminist movement and the LGBT movement. Okay, so for me, how many more minutes do I have?
Go ahead, I'm not thinking.
5 minutes.
She's not taking big time. Okay, 5 minutes. Okay. So if it's 5 minutes, well, that's great.
1 hour.
5 minutes, let's go that way. Then I'll drop post-coloniality because that will take us forever. Yes. Yes, some says no, some says. Let's do 5 minutes. And my open forum naman we can go back. So I really think that the way we will come forward towards encompassing each other when we're in our movements and reaching out to each other, whatever you want to call it, is to understand that queer theory and I think feminist theories in general have to take an anti-identity project. What does that mean exactly? Simple lang yan eh. Very often and quite correctly, the way we begin to organize ourselves is to look at a group of people who are oppressed and then identify ourselves as being members of that group, identify others as being members of that group, and ask people to join us. That's very clearly what we mean by identity politics, no? And organize around that. So, for LGBT movements, it's you're an LGBTI whatever, and you're oppressed by homophobic, heteronormative, patriarchal, genital sexuality encapsulated within a nuclear family. So if you're part of those minorities that don't get included in that, then you are an oppressed, you're a member of the oppressed, you're likely to be the LGBT movement. For feminists, if you're a woman, then by your very nature of being a woman, and then there's patriarchy, then you're oppressed. So you're a member of our oppressed group, and that's your identity in the month. Identity politics is quite fine until we forget that identities need to be stable but not inflexible, and that they are fluid all the time. And we often forget that when we start competing with each other for attention, when we allow funding agencies, the media, mainstream society to set us off against each other in limited funding situations, whether we're trying to grab media attention. Sometimes we race for a hierarchy of victimization. I'm more victim than you, better solve my problems first. Okay, so class becomes more important than whatever. And the fineness of that can be seen even within, let's say, the LGBT movement, where you might find people saying that trans women are more oppressed than the oppressed, and therefore let's deal with their issues first. So you have limitations to that kind of identity politics. And of course, everyone knows the whole debate, let's say, and let me skew my final moments towards LGBT because that's a good wording. When you always have this question of choice, did you choose to be an LGBT? And if it's someone looking from outside, we would like to say, no, it's not a choice. I was born this way. So that we can be less stigmatized and, but we know the dangers of that, right? And it does, because it does make us want to to we want to identify, and that is a choice. And we'd also like to say maybe it's not a choice. So we have problems around those particular issues. In the end, I think if you ask the feminist movement, so this is my last 1 minute, if you ask the feminist movement and the queer theory movement, what should be their end on? Or if you ask myself, if I ask myself what the LGBT and feminist movement should be, it's that we should stop being categories. There should no longer be women and men as we know them in society today. And there should not be such things as LGBT as we know them in society. I'm not saying that someday there will not be women who fall in love with women. I'm not saying that someday there will not be men who will fall in love with men. I'm not saying that someday there will be people who fall in love regardless of what happens to their anatomical configuration, but they fall in love with the person that they fall in love with. I'm just saying it's not going to be an identity because it's on these identities that binaries and oppressions do exist. So that's what I mean by the way forward is to deploy our identities very carefully, to understand when it's necessary to use them, but in our theories and in our politics to understand that what we're trying to do is to break down the identity, and therefore it is to the common, intrinsic, long-standing, strategic, but ever-contested relationship of feminism and queer theory that we have to always question the identity that results in the patriarchal, heteronormative, homophobic, genital, sexual identities captured within nuclear families. So, yun lang muna. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Ma'am Guy.